Today's fairy tale is a gender-bending tale in which a girl dresses as a boy and a satyr saves the day. Since it's Pride Month, someone suggested I do some queer fairy tales, and so that's what I'm gonna do. The first few involve cross-dressing, and they are very old, and though some of them have heteronormative endings, not all of them do. This first one is from the facetious Knights of Straparola in the 1500s, and it's called Costnzo and the King of Bohemia. It's a king and queen, and they have 3 daughters, so the king divides up his kingdom amongst his 3 daughters, marries them to 3 other kings, and just leaves a small, comfortable court for him and his own wife, thinking they're gonna retire now. But the wife gets pregnant later in life, and they have another girl, and she is just amazing. She's taught to embroider, sing, dance, play the lute, all those things, but it says she was not content with just these graces, and taught herself how to read books, learn about politics, the art of war, handling arms, riding horses. One day her parents are like, okay, you're up to marrying age, but since we already married off all your sisters, we don't have enough money left to marry you off to someone who is royal of your birth, so you're gonna have to marry beneath you. She's like, no, I'll never get married unless it's to someone who, like my sisters, is a rank that is of my due. So she sets off to go live her own life, and she dresses as a man and calls herself Costnzo, because her name is Costanza. Sorry, she just changes the last syllable. Like in a lot of these stories, the reason she dresses as a man is for protection, and because it's easier and you have more freedom to get around the world that way. So she goes to another kingdom where she gets a job in the court of the king, and everyone loves her because she's amazing. She's so talented, she's so witty, she's good at everything, and she's beautiful, and all the women at court think she's super hot as a dude. But one of the women who thinks she's hot is the queen, the king's wife. It says, so hotly did the flame of her lust burn for him, she could think of nothing else. And yes, when Costanza is Costnzo, the author uses male pronouns. So I'm going to do the same. Costanzo does not want the queen. So he says, sorry, no, and this makes the queen fly into a rage. She wants to figure out a way to get rid of Costanzo. Well, as it happens, there are satyrs in the world of this story. Like from mythology, like the half-goat men. They live out in the wild, and the king has just always wanted to have one of his own. And so the queen one day is like, hey, you should send Costnzo off to get you a satyr, because he's the strongest and the best. Because everyone else is apparently scared. I don't know what they think the satyrs are gonna do to him, but they're too scared. So the king agrees. He's like, Costanzo, I want you to go get a satyr for me. And Costanzo says, all right, I'll go do it. But first, I'm gonna need a giant cask of wine and a giant cask of bread. So he goes out into this field and sets the trap for the satyrs and then hides. And as soon as the satyrs smell the wine, they come out, they drink it all, they eat all the bread, and then they all pass out and fall asleep. And so while they're sleeping, Costanzo sneaks up, grabs a satyr, binds its goat feet and its man hands, puts it on the back of his horse, and takes off. So they're traveling back to the king's palace, and during that time, the satyr wakes back up again. They pass a funeral for a small child, and the dad is weeping, and the priest is saying the eulogy. The satyr just starts laughing really loud, and Costanzo's like, okay. Then they go through another town and pass a man who's being hung for thievery and all the executioners and judges hanging him, and he laughs even harder at that. Then they get back home, and as they're coming in, everyone's cheering for Costanzo, saying, Costanzo, Costanzo, and that makes the satyr laugh the hardest. Costanzo presents the satyr, and then in front of everyone, the king, the queen, everybody, asks the satyr, hey, why were you laughing at that child's funeral? And the satyr's like, oh, I was laughing because the guy who was weeping and putting the kid into the ground, not actually his dad. The priest who was giving the sermon, he actually fathered that child, but no one knew. Apparently satyrs have this secret knowledge. And they were like, okay, well, why were you laughing at the guy being hung? And he's like, oh, I was laughing because he was being hung just for stealing bread to feed his family, whereas all the people who were hanging him have been stealing from the people through fraudulent taxes and stuff forever, and they've stolen way more. He finds hypocrisy very funny. And Costanzo's like, well, why did you laugh super hard when we came into town and everyone was cheering for me? And he's like, oh, because they called you Costnzo and your name is Costanza. You're a girl. But he's not done. He says, also, you all apparently think that the queen's ladies in waiting are all women, but they're not. They're all dudes, and she's sleeping with all of them. Costanza confirms to the king, yes, I am a woman. Then the king does an inspection and finds out that all of the queen's ladies in waiting are not maidens, but sprightly young men. He orders a fire to be built in the middle of the square and throws his wife and all of her lovers into the fire, and they die. He marries Costanza, and she did not have to marry below her rank after all, and got a man of her station and everything she ever wanted. As always, check out my book and my podcast. Happy Pride!